let us efficiently obtain the information and content we desire, while Quark will also provide a large number of related web page links to ensure freedom of information. Now let's try it specifically. Recently, I finally started exercising. My body is relatively well proportioned elsewhere, but I have a stubborn ring of fat around my abdomen. I asked Quark what this situation is about, why the rest of my body is not fat, but I have this ring of fat around my abdomen. This is Quark's answer. Looking at these questions in comparison to myself, this 9-seat seems to correspond. Spending over 10 hours a day making videos is the norm, and this 9-seat leads to relaxed and weak abdominal muscles that cannot protect the internal organs, so the body stores fat here to provide protection. Then I asked about the negative impacts of having excess abdominal fat, and the analysis given was very comprehensive. It even provided some suggestions. My curiosity got the better of me. What is visceral fat? This answer also looks quite professional. Clicking in leads to multidimensional popular science, even containing medical reminders and specialist referral suggestions. It really is time to get my body moving, but I am too lazy to exercise completely. Can I specifically target abdominal fat by only training the abdominal muscles? It seems not. This answer is indeed objective. Abdominal training can shape abdominal muscles, but to burn fat, various aerobic and anaerobic exercises need to be done together. I then asked a more unrealistic question, a method to gain muscle and lose fat without exercising. The response was quite clever and rational. I asked something else to challenge him. Many people gain weight because of work, but sometimes I often feel like, why are there often no one around at the workstations? Have they all gone out to have fun? I asked Quark, is it because my colleagues are avoiding their workstations because they think I have too much abdominal fat? Such a ridiculous question, and Quark answered me quite seriously. Overall, after this experience regarding why and what can be done about these issues, Quark's AI search can answer. There are many scenarios where Quark can be useful. I wonder if anyone has had the experience of tutoring elementary school students. Why can helping a child with homework make parents so frustrated? It's actually because the parents' logical reasoning skills, our poor kids haven't established foundational logical understanding yet. So the simpler the problems, the more it tests the adult's logical abilities. And this is Quark AI's forte. For example, this question is simple. Let's give it a try. Here, it fully demonstrates the process of problem-solving collection and step-by-step explanation. I don't know how many families Quark has saved. Additionally, sometimes we find ourselves feeling unwell, but are unsure about the severity, for example, just a mouth ulcer. I asked Quark what to do about oral ulcers. Here, it first solves the problem through the logical options by doing a simple inquiry. Soon, reliable answers appear, outlining various situations and even providing consultation suggestions. If deeper interpretation is needed, one can also try Quark's Health Assistant. By the way, there's another feature that's been very helpful to me. When I write copy, I need to read an entire document to know if it contains the knowledge I need. Sometimes after a hard read, I find it doesn't, but Quark can directly help me organize the main points of the article. I can then decide whether to delve deeper into this text based on the points. For example, the tea culture in ancient literature. When I talk about the Opium War, tea is the main character in the trade war, and I want to see how ancient literature discusses tea. Wow, it really generated a detailed outline with a mind map. Let's see. Very clear and aids in understanding. I could also throw an entire video at it for a summary. Besides generating mind maps, it can even extract presentation materials from videos, which is super convenient for students. Quark's AI writing can also inspire me when I'm looking for ideas. All of the above makes me feel it's very practical. Quark has managed to make the lofty AI come down to earth, letting stagnant search take off. Quark AI Search not only meets the need for knowledge collection and collation, but combined with its cloud storage and scanning applications, it can accomplish complex file management tasks such as searching, analyzing, editing, and storing. It provides a one-stop experience. After the training data becomes increasingly refined, AI can also excel and surprise based on our unique questions, committed to making AI technology practical rather than boasting about its disruptive potential, but focusing on practical attempts. I look forward to what kind of surprises Quark will bring us in the future. We'll wait and see. Upon seeing the actual functions of AI and understanding the current state of AI, I think I should have some thoughts on how to coexist with artificial intelligence. A very clear conclusion is that we should no longer view ourselves as laborers or tools, but rather as people who utilize practical AI tools. By comparison, AI will resolutely execute the programmed models it is given without making mistakes, while we tend to err. However, it is precisely this tendency to err that is an exceedingly superior quality of humanity compared to machines, because making mistakes, the same will bring the gains and insights of breaking conventions and traditions. If the human world operates mechanically within a predetermined legal and moral framework, then it becomes unchanging and lifeless. The ability not to operate according to rules is a significant advantage of consciousness. Making mistakes is humanity's most precious ability, one that AI machines cannot learn. Therefore, actively become a user of tools, gaining insights, and innovating from the details of life, breaking old morals and creating new knowledge. Then use AI to organize, summarize, and share the new knowledge we create. This is a harmonious world where we coexist with AI. Without permission, do not cover or use this video. I hope it helps everyone understand AI's constraints. It's quite rare that this is actually a client request from a company focused on AI search. We should have sensed it long ago. Typically in the tech industry, the narrative is that artificial intelligence, large language models, are the cutting-edge technology of the new era, which will be applied in the shortest, most incomprehensible fields. The latest AI can already recognize the world and understand the physical laws governing it. Many professions are about to be replaced by AI. There are even some science fiction claims that humanity is merely a transitional organism in the history of life on Earth, shifting from accumulating life to being extinguished by the AI we create. Certainly, such technological expectations cannot be said to be baseless, but often, after the birth of a tech product, there is a tendency to create a high-end technological image to seem unmatched in order to attract new users who lack understanding. Moreover, AI as a technology-intensive industry requires a significant capital investment, and capital does require some embellishment. After all, if everyone embellishes but you don't, you may not get any investments. So in this episode, Quark provided industry data allowing me to discuss the reality of AI without embellishments, which is quite valuable. So what is the real existence of AI? In the foreseeable future, AI-related concepts will indeed permeate our lives. How should we coexist with AI? This depends on the differences between AI and the human brain, as well as consciousness, and what each side excels at. Thank you to Quark for providing a variety of supportive materials, and I have previously also explored human consciousness and accumulated some knowledge about AI, so I can share a general overview. Of course, I am not an expert, so I welcome criticism for anything I say incorrectly. First, the most intuitive aspect is that AI's medium is integrated circuits, while the medium of human consciousness is the brain. More specifically, it is a collection of neurons. Looking at the most basic neuron, it transmits so-called electrical signals based on charged particles moving in and out of its cell membrane with a transmission speed of about 70 meters per second. In contrast, the signals in electronic components rely on movable electrons, meaning electric currents that propagate through electromagnetic fields, which is essentially electromagnetic waves, or light with a transmission speed of light. Therefore, in terms of information transfer speed, AI's electronic components are millions of times faster than neurons, meaning AI's reactions are certainly quicker than the human brain. However, the smallest operational unit in integrated circuits, logic gates, generally has only 1 to 3 input points and 1 output point linking to other logic gates, while a single neuron can have tens of thousands of input and output points. Each neuron also possesses the ability to determine whether to transmit information and to which output points to send it. Currently, the total number of basic logic circuits on an integrated circuit chip just exceeds 100 million, whereas the brain contains 100 billion neurons. The total number of connections formed by these neurons through their thousands of connection points is an incredibly large number. Thus, the brain's structure is profoundly more complex than that of electronic components. Perhaps all the chips in the world connected through networks are less complex than a human brain. Furthermore, Moore's law has already become ineffective. Transistors have reached their size limits, and further integration leads to issues like leakage and short circuits. Therefore, in the short term, we do not see a significant increase in complexity unless we can realize the conceptual phase of universal quantum computers. Thus, we can appreciate one strength of the human brain compared to AI, which is the additional diverse functions that arise from complexity. However, AI has a foundational advantage. Its hardware, especially storage hardware, is expandable. And because information is recorded on disks, it is relatively stable and precise, akin to carving letters in stone. Human storage, that is memory, does not work by simply inscribing information in the brain. Instead, external stimuli induce neurons to form new connections. That is, they establish response patterns to the external environment. Once these connection patterns are established, they can be modified by subsequent environmental stimuli, thus altering memories. If not utilized for a long time, connections may also disconnect, leading to forgetting. In simple terms, human memory is not about storing information, but rather adapting to the environment. Adaptation methods that no longer align with the changing environment do not need to occupy finite neural connections, which is why they are forgotten. Memory is, of course, very complex. There is a distinction between working memory and long-term memory. More specifically, you can refer to my previous explanation about memory. Indeed, we can see here that compared to the human brain, AI can accurately store information, while the brain, being unable to expand, retains only mutable approaches to the environment without the capacity for extensive and accurate information preservation. However, this also guarantees the brain's ability to quickly adjust its coping mechanisms based on environmental changes through forgetting and memory alteration. The brain opts to form networks through extremely intricate connections, leading to information in the brain that is not merely signals flowing unidirectionally from input through a processing phase to output. Instead, after signals are output, information continues to wander throughout the brain's circuitry. This allows the entire brain to observe and feel the process of the information it has recently processed. There are many processes for handling information, all resonating together in the brain, creating interaction that promotes further overall coordination and comprehensive processing of information. At the same time, it evaluates and checks the methods used previously to process information, which seems to be self-awareness. However, how consciousness arises and where in the brain it resides is still far from being fully researched. Additionally, there seems to be an ongoing philosophical debate about the essence of consciousness, which hasn't yet reached the level of material discussion. Yet we do not need to prove the existence of our own consciousness. We all have perception unless I truly have a brain of an insect. In fact, most of our brain's activities, even highly advanced activities, do not involve consciousness. We adjust our breathing, change our heart rate, walk, daily ride a bicycle, after learning, and even navigate obstacles or run away from danger. All these actions do not require conscious participation. Research has indeed found that when a human sees danger and begins to evade it, or when their hand touches a sharp object or flame and they retract it, the signal has not yet reached the cerebral cortex. The only reason we still have a sensation of pain is that it occurs afterward, after the avoidance action has been executed, to allow consciousness to reflect on the experience and summarize the lesson. The so-called subconscious behavior we talk about is this mechanical input of information processing and then output, also referred to as stress responses. By contrast, consciousness is the comprehensive decision-making that emerges slowly after coordinating contrasting extreme information. As for AI, based on the basic characteristics of logic circuits, information in integrated circuits flows almost solely in a unidirectional manner with a very fixed flow pattern, unlike the connection of brain neurons, which features strong variability and randomness. This is what prevents AI from possessing that sudden flash of insight ability. Therefore, reviewing the above, we can clearly understand AI's abilities as analogous to our stress responses, where all information moves unidirectionally from input to output. The formation of consciousness in the brain occurs because the information flow circulates back and forth within various neural circuits, generating sensations. In the literature, most scholars tend to believe that current AI lacks consciousness. The abilities of AI are simply mechanical combinations of numerous stress responses. However, since the pathways of different stress responses do not influence each other, AI can rapidly process many tasks in parallel, while our consciousness can only focus on one task at a time, which is why humans must concentrate to accomplish tasks. Additionally, because we cannot rapidly and accurately process many things, we classify different objects in the world by defining commonalities, inductively categorizing them into the same type of objects. For example, we can classify two objects made up of different atoms as chopsticks, or designate all moving things in a tree as monkeys. We even label different people based on region, nationality, age, occupation, and gender, categorizing them as us, on, you, and them. This way, the human brain can disregard the complexities of objects, allowing its limited capacity to build an understanding of the world. Conversely, AI does not require such classification with its precise information storage and lightning-fast transmission and computation abilities, enabling it to process information at the most granular level, akin to a person handling matters atomically, without needing to set a concept for a specific category of objects, because the human brain needs to label and categorize all things to create concepts. This inevitably overlooks many detailed characteristics of objects, establishing that AI will be more objective than the human brain. However, although AI can simultaneously enhance work efficiency by processing various tasks in parallel, it also cannot allow different events to collide and integrate to generate new understandings, since all tasks do not interfere with one another, making it impossible for AI to produce novel insights. Consider that many human ideas arise from being inspired by one object and then applying that insight to another completely unrelated item. So it is precisely this inefficient processing method of consciousness that allows us to generate inspiration and develop new knowledge through our engagement engagement with different information. Classifying and defining through commonalities also enables consciousness to develop abstract insights that do not depend on tangible entities. This allows for the imagination of things that do not exist, such as religion, nations, and companies, enabling large-scale unity and cooperation, thereby fostering civilization. Of course, many people might want to argue that the current large models can now create drawings and write essays. So how can we say that AI lacks inspiration and innovation ability? Here we can ponder whether the things AI creates are truly innovative or merely imitations. We need to discuss the current development direction of AI. Previously, I learned from Dr. Zhang Guo that current large language models are termed models because they remain fixed algorithms merely incorporating probabilities. The basic principle is to feed all human languages into the learning model, calculating what the next word is likely to be based on context. Once the next word is deduced, it is thrown back into the context to continue the calculation for the next word. Thus, we can intuitively see that all language models generate responses one word at a time. As for AI itself, it does not understand what it is saying. Artistic creation follows the same logic. It generates one pixel at a time based on a compilation of human works. Its brilliance lies in its capacity to rapidly aggregate an immense amount of samples to refine its model, producing results that integrate all information. Therefore, the current development of AI, including machine learning, is not about imitating the human brain, as the complexity of the human brain is nearly impossible to replicate. Large language models do not understand language or perceive the world, but mechanically imitate it in units of bits. The range of samples it can mimic continues to grow, coupled with super strong integration capabilities and human-guided corrections, making AI's imitation abilities increasingly robust. Why did we previously think artificial intelligence should first help us with simple tasks like cooking, washing dishes, doing laundry, and cleaning, while expecting the strongest human foothold to be in artistic works? But now the opposite seems to be true. This is because in the three-dimensional world, cleaning tasks are incredibly complex and far from simple due to various unforeseen circumstances that require adaptability. In the virtual information world, where the smallest unit of information can be readily captured by rapidly calculating AI, the virtual world is undoubtedly its domain. To summarize the above knowledge, if AI continues to be based on the current electronic computer hardware structure, then AI can indeed be understood. On the contrary, the human consciousness remains inexplicable. The creators of knowledge are still humans, while AI can better organize human-created knowledge. Therefore, AI is not a deeply mysterious concept in the commercial realm. It can simply be seen as a tool. We humans, however, can no longer be tools ourselves. This is how we can harmoniously coexist with AI. If in the future you continue to compete with AI to perform retrieval computation and summarization tasks without exercising your creativity, then as a tool, you might genuinely face obsolescence. In conclusion, artificial intelligence is not an exalted concept. Whether AI or large models, they simply serve as tools for enhancing human efficiency. The current challenges AI companies should focus on involve how to apply AI technologies in contexts that address human needs, making them accessible without barriers. This is precisely what Quark has been consistently emphasizing. For many years, when ordinary internet users sought to solve specific problems through the web, the first tool most opened was the search engine. However, in today's era, where efficiency is paramount, clicking through individual search result pages for answers seems inadequate. As a result, Quark has integrated AI models with search engines to redefine AI searching, transforming the search box into a super search box through the abilities of large AI models. Although it may simply appear as a regular search box, whatever question you ask, Quark can provide direct answers, allowing us to efficiently obtain the information and content we desire. Meanwhile, Quark also offers a wealth of related web page links, providing ample informational freedom. Let's try a specific example. Recently, I finally started exercising. My other body parts seem relatively proportional, but my abdomen has this stubborn ring of fat. So I asked Quark what the situation is. Why is it that other areas are not gaining weight, but my abdomen has a layer of fat? Quark's response suggests that this condition may relate to prolonged video recording sessions, leading to loosened, weak abdominal muscles that cannot protect the internal organs. Hence, the body storing fat there for protection. Next, I asked about the negative effects of having excessive abdominal fat, and the analysis provided was very thorough, complete with suggestions. My curiosity piqued. I queried what it means for fat to be firm, and this answer looked quite professional, leading to multi-dimensional explanations, even including medical reminders and recommendations for consultations. I realized I need to truly get moving for my health. However, I also wanted a targeted approach that only focuses on abdominal muscles to reduce fat specifically there. Quark honestly answered that abdominal exercises can shape the muscles, but that comprehensive aerobic and anaerobic activities are needed to reduce fat overall. I threw in a more unrealistic question about gaining muscle and losing fat without working out and got back a smart and rational response. Finally, I asked something that might puzzle Quark. Many people gain weight because of work stress, yet I often notice that many of my coworkers often aren't at their desks. Could it be they avoid me due to my abdominal fat? Quark's earnest response left me pleasantly surprised. Overall, from my experience in asking various questions why what exists and what can be done, Quark's AI search was able to provide thorough answers. Many more scenarios await us to utilize Quark. I wonder if anyone here has ever helped elementary students with their homework. Why do parents often get frustrated while tutoring their children? It's generally because their logical reasoning skills fall short as the child has yet to establish foundational logic, making even the simplest questions a challenge for the adult. This is Quark AI's forte. For example, this straightforward problem we can attempt to solve illustrates a complete process of topic exploration and step-by-step explanations. You can imagine how many families Quark has saved. Occasionally, we discover we feel under the weather, but aren't certain how serious it is, like merely suffering from mouth ulcers. I asked Quark what I should do for mouth ulcers, and it first provided a simple diagnostic process besides options for addressing the issue. Worry not. Reliable answers will quickly appear. For readers seeking more in-depth insights, they can also explore Quark's Health Assistant. By the way, there's another feature I find immensely helpful. When I write proposals, I usually need to read an entire document to ascertain if it contains the information I need. Sometimes I struggle through only to find it lacks substance. Quark can directly summarize the key points of an article, allowing me to decide on delving deeper. For instance, regarding ancient literature and its depiction of tea culture, I noticed the tea's significance during the Opium War, worth looking into how classic literature approaches tea. Wow, an outline has indeed been generated complete with a mind map. I see it's quite clear and aids my understanding. Even tossing an entire video to it can yield quick summaries. Besides generating mind maps, it can also extract content presentations from videos, which is incredibly convenient for students. Additionally, Quark's AI writing features can spark ideas for me. These advantages have shown me the practical value Quark offers, making lofty AI accessible and enabling stagnant search engines to soar. Quark AI Search does not merely satisfy the needs of knowledge gathering. Combined with storage applications like cloud drive and scanning, it fulfills complex document management necessities for analysis, editing, and storage, providing a one-stop experience. With ever-improving training data, AI can also excel in addressing our unique questions, aiming to translate AI technology into practical applications. Rather than exaggerating AI's revolutionary potential, it emphasizes pragmatic attempts. We eagerly anticipate what further surprises Quark has in store for us. After witnessing AI's actual functions and understanding the current state of AI, comparing the advantages and disadvantages of human brain consciousness, I believe we should now have some insight on how to coexist with artificial intelligence. A very clear conclusion is that we should no longer view ourselves as laborers or tools, but rather as users of practical AI tools. In comparison, AI will steadfastly execute its programmed models without error, whereas we might falter, but our capacity to err manifests as a unique superiority of humanity over machines. Making mistakes not only leads to breaking norms and traditions, but also yields insights and wisdom. If humanity's world operates mechanically within predetermined legal and moral frameworks, it becomes stagnant and lifeless. The ability to operate contrary to regulations is a substantial advantage of consciousness. Making mistakes is humanity's most cherished capability, and one that AI machines cannot replicate. Therefore, we should actively become users of tools, gaining insights and innovations from life's details, breaking old moral constraints to create new knowledge.